It's Friday evening, and your phone has been lighting up for the past hour with invitations. Drinks at someone's place, a group heading out for dinner, a last-minute thing at a bar somebody's friend knows. And you're sitting on your couch, wrapped in something soft, with a book you've been looking forward to all week, and a quiet kind of contentment has settled over the room that you don't want to disturb. You look at the screen. You look back at the book. And somewhere, underneath the warmth of where you already are, a familiar guilt starts whispering that you should probably go. That normal people go. That you're going to regret this later. That you're wasting your weekend by choosing to stay exactly where you want to be. If that scene just felt uncomfortably specific, I need you to stay with me. Because what you're experiencing is one of the most misunderstood things a human being can experience, and the story you've been told about it is almost completely wrong. For a long time, you probably felt something was off about you because peace only seemed to arrive when everyone else had gone. You probably compared yourself to people who came alive in crowds and wondered why you went the other way, why you felt most real in the quietest rooms, why your favorite version of yourself only showed up when nobody was watching. I want to tell you something, and I want you to actually let it land instead of rushing past it like you usually do. That feeling is not a flaw. That feeling is not avoidance. That feeling is not laziness or fear or brokenness or failure. That feeling is the signature of a specific kind of nervous system doing exactly what it was built to do, and you've been apologizing for it your whole life when you should have been protecting it. Let me explain what's actually happening inside you, because once you understand this, the shame you've been carrying starts to look ridiculous. Some people are wired in such a way that the outside world is where their energy comes from. They walk into a crowded room and something turns on inside them. The noise feeds them. The conversations charge them. They leave a party more alive than when they arrived. For them, solitude isn't restoration. Solitude is the place where their battery runs down. And because that's their experience, they assume it's everyone's experience. They assume that anyone who doesn't feel charged by a crowd must be hiding or depressed or socially anxious or in need of being pulled out of their shell. But that's not how all nervous systems work. Some nervous systems run the entire process in reverse. You walk into a crowded room and something begins draining inside of you, quietly, steadily, no matter how much you love the people around you. The noise costs you something. The conversations cost you something. The monitoring of yourself, the managing of your face, the tracking of who's talking to whom and how long you've been quiet and whether you should say something soon. All of that costs you something. You leave the room with less of yourself than when you arrived. Not because the people were bad, not because you didn't enjoy the night, because that's simply the direction your energy flows. And when you get home and close the door and feel that deep settling into yourself, what's actually happening is your nervous system returning to its natural resting state. That's why the relief is so physical. That's why the sigh is so real. You haven't escaped anything. You've come back to the condition you were designed to live in most of the time. This isn't opinion. There's actual research on what's going on in the brains of people who are wired this way. Studies on personality and neuroscience have shown that certain brains have higher baseline activity in the regions responsible for internal thinking, reflection, and problem solving. In other words, your inner world is already loud. Your inner world is already doing something. You don't need external stimulation to feel alive because there's already a whole conversation happening inside you. And when you add more input on top of that, a party, a crowd, a loud dinner, a long group chat, your system ends up overloaded in a way that someone with a quieter internal baseline would never experience. It's not that you can't handle it. It's that you're handling two worlds at once while other people only have to handle one. That's why staying home isn't the absence of a better option for you. Staying home is the better option. Not because you don't have anywhere to go. Not because nobody invited you. Not because you're hiding from life. But because home is the only place where you're particular kind of nervous system gets to stop translating itself into a language it wasn't born speaking. There's a moment that a lot of self-sufficient homebodies describe reaching at some point in their adult life. And I want to talk about it because you might be approaching it yourself. For years, maybe decades, you tried to live the way you were told a good life was supposed to look. You said yes to things you didn't want to go to. You forced yourself to stay longer than you wanted to stay. You smiled through exhaustion so nobody would think you were being strange. You told yourself that if you just pushed a little harder, you'd eventually start enjoying it the way everyone else seemed to. You were sure the problem was you. You were sure there was something you hadn't figured out yet, some switch you were supposed to flip, some attitude you were supposed to adopt. And then one day, usually after one too many nights of coming home feeling hollowed out, you stopped. You stopped believing the problem was you. You started to notice that the version of you who was alone in your own space, reading something you actually cared about, cooking something slowly, sitting by a window without an agenda, was not a lesser version of you. It was the fullest version. It was the one other people rarely got to meet. And you realized that the life you'd been trying to build by everyone else's blueprint was costing you the only version of yourself you actually recognized. That moment of recognition is a quiet turning point, and most people don't have a word for it. It's not rebellion, it's not withdrawal. It's something closer to coming home to yourself after a very long trip you didn't want to take. Now here's the part that almost nobody talks about, and it's the part I want you to hear most clearly. Being a self-sufficient homebody is not the same as being isolated. It is not the same as being antisocial. It is not even the same as being introverted in the way people usually mean that word. What you are is something more specific than all of those. You are a person whose inner life is rich enough to sustain you. You're a person who doesn't need constant external input to feel like you're living. You're a person for whom a quiet afternoon alone is not empty time, but full time, deeply full, in a way that's hard to explain to anyone who's never experienced it. Self-sufficient is the key phrase, and I don't use it lightly. It doesn't mean you don't need other people. Every human needs other people. It means you have built over years of paying close attention to yourself, a life where your own company is genuinely good company. You can spend a whole day alone without boredom, without loneliness, without that restless itch that makes other people reach for their phones every 90 seconds. You have inner resources. You have things that interest you. You have thoughts worth thinking. You have a relationship with yourself that actually works. And that relationship is the foundation of every other relationship you have, because it means you're never coming to other people out of desperation. You're coming because you want to, not because you need them to rescue you from your own silence. Most people never develop this. Most people spend their lives running from their own company because they never taught themselves how to enjoy it. They need noise. They need plans. They need a schedule full of other humans because the alternative, being alone with themselves, feels unbearable to them. And there's nothing wrong with them for feeling that way, but it does mean that when they look at you, they cannot imagine what you have. They see your quiet life from the outside and assume it must be missing something, because from where they're standing, it would be. They're projecting their own relationship with solitude onto yours. They don't know that your solitude isn't empty. They don't know that your solitude is where you actually live. And that's why the comments hurt a little, even when you know they shouldn't. When people ask if you're okay, when they tell you that you need to get out more, when they suggest that something must be wrong because you've turned down invitations 3 weeks in a row, what they're really saying is, I couldn't live the way you live. And because they couldn't live it, they assume you must be suffering through it. But you're not suffering. You're thriving in a way they don't have the vocabulary for. Here's what the research on personality and well-being keeps finding over and over, and it's something you might need to hear tonight. People who structure their lives around their actual wiring, rather than around what they think their life is supposed to look like, report higher life satisfaction, lower anxiety, and a stronger sense of self than people who keep forcing themselves to perform a version of living that doesn't match them. That's not a small finding. That's everything. That's a scientific confirmation of the thing you've been quietly suspecting for years, which is that the life you want is not a lesser life. It's simply yours, and yours is the only life you are ever going to live well. The people who have made peace with being homebodies describe something that extroverts almost never get to experience. They describe the deep pleasure of a slow morning, the quiet satisfaction of a long project nobody is watching them work on, the way a book can feel like a friend, the way a familiar meal cooked alone in your own kitchen can feel more nourishing than any restaurant, the way a long walk by yourself can do what hours of conversation with the wrong people could never do. These aren't small consolations. These are the actual good things. These are the experiences that, for a certain kind of nervous system, constitute a life worth living. And the biggest misunderstanding of all, the one I want to break before we finish, is the idea that choosing home means choosing comfort over growth, that you're somehow playing it safe by not forcing yourself out into the world more. That real life only happens out there, and home is where you go to hide from it. That's a story that only makes sense if growth is defined by how many people witness it. But a huge amount of the most important growth a human being ever does happens in silence, in the thinking, in the slow digesting of experiences, in the long conversations with yourself that nobody else ever hears, in the creative work that requires you to be alone with a project for hundreds of quiet hours before it becomes anything worth showing, in the healing that only happens when you finally stop performing and let yourself be still. Home isn't where growth stops. Home is often where growth finally has enough room to begin. If any of this has made something inside you relax a little, if you're listening to this in your favorite quiet place right now and feeling something like recognition, I want you to let yourself have that. You do not owe anyone an explanation for the life that makes you feel most like yourself. You do not owe anyone a busier calendar. You do not owe anyone a performance of a social life you never wanted. You are never supposed to be like everyone else. You are supposed to be like you. And the person you are, the quiet, self-sufficient, internally rich person who finds their deepest peace behind a closed door, is not the consolation prize in somebody else's story. That person is the whole point of yours.